Hi there, it's Michelle from CNC Designs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in New Zealand, and I'm bringing you another Global Monthly Video Hop. So once a month, I join demonstrators from around the world, and we make projects based on a theme. And this month's theme is Simple Stamping. So simple stamping is a great way to be introduced into card making. So you can see how easy it is to put a card together using three elements: stamps, ink, and paper, sometimes referred to as S.I.P, S-I-P. So before I forget, in the description below, I will list all the products that I show you in this project. So if you wish to purchase any, you can contact your demonstrator to order. Or if you don't have a demonstrator and you're in New Zealand, you can go to my site, michellekritchley.stampinup.net, to contact me to order anything that you'd need. And the other thing is I will be listing links to all the other demonstrators that are taking part this month. And so you can click on those links after watching my video to hop over and see some other great ideas for simple stamping. So if you're new to stamping, this is a great way to get introduced. If you're not new to stamping, it's also a great way to basically get ideas. Sometimes you get so involved in a stamp set and you need to stop for a minute and do a S.I.P. Just use stamp, ink, and paper to make something. So I do that as well, and I find it very difficult to make things simple, to simplify things, but it's a great way to just stop for a moment and just enjoy your stamp sets. So having said that, this project, we're going to start out simple, and then I'm going to show you ways to step it up because I couldn't help myself. So for this, you just need a basic white card base. So here in New Zealand, we have A4 size cards. We cut in half to make an A5 piece of cardstock, scored in the middle at 10.5 centimeters to fold it, and that is your card base. You can go portrait or landscape. So wherever you are, just your card base. We're going to make it really simple, white cardstock, basic white cardstock. I'm going to be showing you using the two-step stamping method that we can use with the trucking along set. Some stamp sets come that way where there's like an outline image and then there's images to fill it in. So you don't even need to color, you just need basic black ink and then a color ink pad to do the inside of everything. And so two-step stamping, sometimes three-step, where you stamp the main image and then you stamp a second one and you're done. This set you will not see in any catalogs. It is in the online exclusives only. So with Stampin' Up, in order to give people more choice, they bring out things that are only found online. So you have to go to somebody's website. So if you want to have a look here in New Zealand, you go to mine. If you're outside New Zealand, contact your demonstrator or go to stampinup.com. And when you look under the shop, you can scroll down to online exclusives and see these projects. There's papers, there's other stamp sets, lots of things, and it changes all the time. So go back quite often to see what's current. So this is the trucking along stamp set. It's photopolymer, which means it's see-through, so that we can line things up for stamping. You can bundle it up with a punch. This is the truck builder punch. Now here in New Zealand, they refer to these as utes or utilities. If you call something a truck here, it is like a four-wheeler or a semi that we have that there is in the United States and things like that. So sometimes I might call it a ute. Other times I might refer to it as a truck. But basically, it's a pickup truck is what we're working on. Okay, so to show you the simple stamping here, get your card base. So this time I'm going to show you how to make the card, and then I'm going to show you some other alternatives afterwards. So you don't get to see what we're making till later, unless you fast forward the video. Okay, so there's my card base. And I'm using black ink, so I'm using my Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad, which I love. And we're going to start out by stamping my truck or my ute. right roughly in the middle down towards the bottom of it. Let me make sure I'm on camera. So kind of like in the middle toward the bottom of your card. Make sure your fold is at the top. Okay, so that's our Ute in black. We are going to use this little stamp. It doesn't stamp that middle section. That's just to show you how to line it up. That's going to put color into our wheels. If you're using a photopolymer stamp, just a little tip for you. When you have it, don't stick it onto your block like that because you might misalign it. The best thing to do is leave it down on paper so it gets its shape that it needs to have, because you could actually bend it into different shapes. And some of the photopolymer are great for that, like with the ones with words. You can bend them into other shapes. But let it sit and then just go straight down on top of it. And that should have the placement where you want it to be. So we'll bring this back in. Again, some black ink. And the nice thing with the photopolymer is you just look straight over your image to line it up. Now, it's a little more difficult doing it on video because I have to try to look over it. But what I suggest is find one part of the stamp to line up and then just quickly check over the other side before you press down. There we go. And sometimes I actually do it at an angle, so I line up one thing and then I angle it down. Okay, so that's pretty good. Got that wheel perfect and that wheel close enough. Okay. The other thing I'm going to put on here are the trees. I'm just going to go ahead and do the outline of the trees in black. So we're going to put a couple trees around the back. And just eyeball it. And we'll see if we can get away with 3 trees in the front like I want. 1. Then I'll put 1 over here. Don't worry if they overlap. I mean, trees do that. But once we put the next part to the stamping on, you're not really going to notice that. Okay, so we got our trees, and while the black's here, we're going to go ahead and do our sentiment. Now this set has lots of different images that you can put in the back of your Ute, and it has several different sayings. Sending you sunny thoughts, wishing you festive Christmas, special delivery, every day is a fresh start. The little farm fresh can go on the side of the Ute. And so you can use this for any time of year. I'm just going to go with the sending you sunny thoughts. And I'm just going to stick it in the center at the top, hopefully. Sometimes I do things crooked. If you watch any of my videos, you know that. Okay. And then I'm going to introduce some other colors. So now with the Ute, we're going to go with Poppy Parade. Nice red Ute. So this is the filling image, and you notice there's some areas that the ink won't go, and that's meant to have white lines. So when you're doing this simple stamping, when you're going to stamp, try to line up the hole for the window, where the window is, and then quickly look down to make sure everything's lined up so you're not doing it at an angle. So hopefully I can do this fine on the video. So I'm lining up where the hole is for the window. And then I'm just going to gently press and hope everything else lines up. Oh, and that worked out really well. Quite surprised. No, I'm not. I've stamped these a few times, which you'll see, so I've had a bit of practice. But as you can see, there's white lines that are making it look like reflection on the metal. Okay, so I lined up that window part there and then just gently looked down to see that these were sort of lining up. All right, now let's introduce some brown for the ground. So I am using Early Espresso, and so there's this line stamp. So So I'm just going to stamp that around to make it look like the truck is not just floating in midair. So I'm just going to stamp that around the bottom. So see how he looks like he's on there. And then I could leave it that way, just have like a little reflection, or I could go ahead and make it look like a road. Now if you're going to stamp other ones, you notice one side is longer than the other. So you can flip your stamp around, and if you try, hold your mouth the right way when you stamp, it kind of looks like it's a continuous. Okay, so I did that stamp one direction and I flipped it around the other way to do that side. So we're going to do the other side as well. Hopefully you see this because I'm busy looking at the thing while I'm stamping. Okay, and then I'm just going to add some more over top. And then another one. Now this way, if I turn it around, I might be able to tuck it under the bumper. Oh, I did. So I was able to tuck it under the bumper there. Okay, I think that's fine. That looks like a bit of a road. So we will put the brown away. Now we're going to introduce some green. This is our garden green. So we just got paper, stamps, and ink. But it's better to say stamps, ink, and paper because that's S.I.P. Other way around, you figure out what it means. Now again, we have the tree. This is going to be the solid part of the tree. And I'm just going to get a piece of scrap paper for underneath because my tree's going off the edge. I'll probably stamp off the edge of my card. Okay. So ink up your tree. And you can see how well it's inked. And this one, see the center that has no ink? That's the branches. That's this section here. That is right there. So when you're stamping that, look at that part. And again, I'm angling it, looking at that part to line that up in the bottom. And then as I look at the top, I just go straight down once I think I've got the angle right. There you go. If you want a different color tree, then don't ink it up again and just do the next one over. And so we have a different shade. So we have the dark and the light. So I didn't ink it. I inked it once and did two trees, and that gives us can give us different shades. And you could go over it again if you don't like it, you want more color. So again, I'm looking in the center and then just going over. And then I'm going to quickly come over and do this one. Okay, now that one I was slightly off, but you can see how I've got different trees. And so this one, if I do it full strength, I'm going to end up having a dark tree there. So I'm just going to stamp off on my paper and then come over and stamp it so I have the different shades. There you go. So different shades of trees. And I could potentially stamp again, but you see that's getting lighter and lighter. So you could have different shades. Okay, so that's my tree. Now this squiggly line here is grass. And it's similar to the road that we did where you can flip it over as you go. So I'm going to put it just down at the bottom of the tree. And so see how the ends of it are different? Doesn't finish the same way. So I'll ink it up and I'm going to turn it round. And this time I'm going to try to line up looking through it with that other squiggly line. So I sort of lined up the squiggles there, so it looks like one continuous stamp. And then over here, I just don't want to stamp on my truck. And then turn it round the other way to line up those sides. There you go. Bit of grass there. And then I'm just going to add a little bit interest of grass just on the inside, and this time I'm not going to line them up so it looks like layers of grass. Okay, and I'll do the same over here just because I had the room for it. If I didn't have much room between that and the road, I would probably just leave it alone. But that's the nice thing with the stamps, is you can put as much or as little as you want. So that's our green done. Oh no, forgot. We need to put something in the back of the ute. So we are going to put the sunflowers. Now, as I said, this one has lots of choices. You've got sunflowers, we've got Christmas presents, which goes with the Christmas one. This one's a palm tree with a beach ball and a surfboard, so that's for, you know, going out sunny, somewhere sunny. And then there's solid images to go inside. This one is buckets, and by the looks of it, I think those are leaves and flowers coming out, and then you have one here that you can do stamp over to have the flowers. Now, like this solid image, it will only cover the palm tree, not those bits, because so you stamp that in green to cover up the palm tree, and then you could color in or leave those blanks. This one, if you do it in one color, all the flowers are going to look the same color, and the sunflowers has a little yellow one. However, they're so small that you could actually just color them in with pens or pencils. So now, again, we want to line it up where it's just touching the back of the ute. So I'm angling it. So I'm angling it like that and then going down. So I'm making sure I look at the bottom to line it up and then go down. So I can see through it. I can see where the top of the ute is, and then angle it. And that's how you get really good placement. Oh, sorry, focus. There we go. Look at all those big flowers out the back. Okay, so that's our green done. Now, the next one is the Daffodil Delight for our sunflowers. We don't have a sunflower named stamp. Now, that's this stamp here. Now, when you put it down, sometimes it's difficult to see which way around it goes. So it's best to look at the stamp set itself. So if you look at the stamp set itself, it shows you the two flowers on either side and how they go in there. But I found doing it, turn it around the other way, it doesn't really matter. It seems to be a symmetrical stamp. So I'm going to look in, and this time I'm going to look for the center of the big sunflowers and just press it where I think it's going to go. Oh, that worked pretty well too. So I was looking for the center, the hole in the stamp, to line it up. Okay, so there's our sunflowers in the back. And now we just want to have some clouds. But they gotta be nice, fluffy blue clouds, because it's a sunny day. Except for here in New Zealand, I don't know if you can hear it. It's pouring down with rain out there. So if you hear a noise in the background, that's rain. In fact, it might even be hailing, because we're in the middle of winter here. So it's not a sunny day at the moment. It was yesterday and the day before, but not. It will be in a couple days. So again, I got my stamp on there crooked, so I'm just going to put my stamp down there. And now you might notice I'm using different types of blocks. Some of these blocks have come from the kits. So if you purchase any kits, you generally get blocks included. So this, I just stuck my thumb in the ink. This is our Tahitian Tide, but it's quite juicy, which you can see the bubbling up on there. But that's okay, because it makes an interesting looking cloud. If your stamp pad's too juicy, you can soak it up with some paper. I suggest getting ink spots, blank ink spots, and use them to soak up some of the extra ink. If you have a juicy ink pad, that usually happens when they're brand new or sometimes with humidity. And then at least if you use your ink spot, then you have a nice little ink spot that has ink on it. So because it's quite juicy and I don't want it to be that dark, I'm just going to gently tap it off. See how dark that is? And then I'm going to pop it there. So it gives a different look. It's not quite as dark. And I'm just going to stamp it off. And depending on how much stamping off, you get different dimensions of clouds. Now this is a two-step stamp, so we have that and we have the outline stamp, and it's pretty easy for this outline. Now don't worry about the bubbles in the middle because this is not going to stamp the middle part, it's just doing the outline. So you just got to look over it and do the outline. Did pretty good there. Now, if you have difficulty with any of these two-step stamps, try it this other way around. So, I will show you with the clouds what I mean. If you're having trouble lining things up, do the outline first. There's no set rule the way you have to do it. So I'm just going to do, and for this I could have even just left the clouds like that, nice white clouds. And I might just do one there. So I could just leave them that way. That one looks a bit crooked, but oh well. Stamping on a video doesn't always come out right. So now what I can do is I can come in and just go over. Sometimes it makes it easier because now I can see the outline. So see, that is perfectly set where this one was slightly off. So whichever works for you, play around, find a way to do it. I think it goes much faster if I have the outline first. So some things that works well, other things not so much. Like the flowers probably wouldn't have worked very well if I did that. There we go. And basically, that is our simple stamped card done. Now we could decorate the inside, which is always kind of a good thing. Always put something nice on the inside. So we could simply open it up and pop a tree in there, or I'm just going to put some flowers in there. So get my green ink out. And I'm just going to, at the base of the card, just going to go right down to the base of the card and maybe put some flowers on either side. Nice and simple. I could just leave them green like that. They look quite cute. Or I could go ahead and bring my Daffodil Delight in. Now I'm going to see how this looks. I'm going to go one way. No, I think it is the other way. Again, looking through the center of the flowers. And looking through the center of the two big flowers. And then just check the edges. There we go. So you can see, oops, come on, focus. There we go. So you can see this one I'm slightly off. And focus. That one I'm spot on. So practice makes perfect, but it doesn't really matter. You could just color it. So that's our simple stamped card. Just stamps, ink, and paper. Now, looks good. Lovely card. Great for something quick and easy to do, or if you're a beginner. But I'm going to show you what I've done. So I stepped it up. I couldn't help myself. So basically, that's the same card. I mean, the clouds are a bit different. I have too many clouds here. So the trees, the ute, everything is the same. But I did it on a white piece of cardstock so I could stick it onto a Daffodil Delight card base. So that's one change there. And there's the inside. I did the tree. The other thing I did is I introduced the punch. So I stamped the image on a piece of scrap paper, except I just realized I didn't, I did it on both sides because I didn't like the alignment. I do like that one better. I haven't done the wheels, so stamped it on a piece of scrap paper. And you could color it by hand or stamp your wheels. Let me stamp these first. There we go. And then I simply took the builder punch, and that's the reason this scrap is so thin, is so I can actually get it in there and not waste punching parts that I don't need. So pop it in there, line it up. Now you can hold it with one hand to do this, and I'm doing that so you can see. If you push it partially down, it holds the paper without cutting it, so it's holding the paper in place. If you have difficulty holding it, or you have small hands, children doing it, the punches are flat on the top. And the reason for that is so you can set them down flat on the table, take your cardstock to the punch, slide it in, and then you can line your punch up that way. And then this is really good for if you have small hands or children, because now I lined it up, I can simply use the palm of my hand to press down. Where holding it up this way, I'm using my thumb and my fingers to punch it. So you can punch it two different ways. So there's our car, punched out. And so what I did for this card here, changing it up from our simple stamped one, I punched a car, put them up on dimensionals. I also did a bit of coloring, so I colored the trunks of the tree and a bit on the ground there. And I did a bit of yellow lines where the word sunny is. Put the car there, up on dimensionals. And to get my sun, what I did was I just inked up the words. And if you only want partial stamping, you could use pens to color it, or if you just ink up the side. Now I'm not going to worry about wiping the ink off the extra parts of the words, because the punch isn't big enough to show all the words. So I'm just going to stamp it. Hopefully you see that. Just stamp it on a piece of Daffodil Delight scrap card. Got to cover my ink because otherwise I will probably put something in there. And then I'm going to use the punch for that circle. Now that circle actually is for a wheel, a tire. But so I'm going to line it up so I get most of the word in there. I'm not going to be able to get the whole word because of the size of the word. And I'm just going to punch that out. Get rid of my scrap. And then I can pop that over the word sunny. And even though it's slightly doesn't fill it up, it's not that noticeable. And I drew some lines for some sun, and then pop your ute up on dimensionals. And so you change your simple stamp card into something a bit different. Now see, I still have that ute in the background. But if I was designing this originally, I might not even stamp that. But because the flowers are in the back of the ute, I needed that ute in the background to see where the flowers are going to be. So we go from simple to stepped up. Now I did a couple other things as well. I decided to get started on Christmas cards. It's never too early for Christmas cards. So again, same concept, same idea. I stamped this on the white card. I just noticed all my clouds are crooked. That's okay. Got into the Christmas grog a bit early. So stamped it all in the background there. This time I did 2 and 3 trees that way. I used some pens to color it in, so I added that little element. Used a special delivery, which is crooked as well. This time I did the ute, and I used Misty Moonlight, but I stamped off because it's way too dark. But it gives it that kind of old ute look. And I put a tree in the back. And another cool stamp we have is for the rails in the back of the ute. Now some people said, oh, it's a fence, which you could do. I could put that along here and create a fence, but it's actually, I'm not sure, somebody probably knows the term, the back part, the sides of the ute. So stamp those as well. So that is a relatively simply stamped one, similar to that, but I did it on white cardstock and put a red base, and then the stamped image with the gifts I stamped inside. The words, I stamped them, and then I stamped them again using pens to color them in to get the two different colors. Now, I'll show you how to step that one up. So, as I showed you before, you stamp and punch out your ute. I did that, and I added a bit of gems to the wheels. But I decided that's not good enough. Just getting a Christmas tree is not that exciting. So you need presents. In order to get presents, I needed something else to carry them in. So I've made the back side a trailer. And I stamped the presents, and I colored them with my pens and cut them out and glued them on the back of the little trailer. To get the trailer, I will show you. So we had our stamped image there. And to get the trailer, let's bring our scrap paper in. I've already got my blue trailer, so we'll do a red trailer to go with that. And I will put that on another card, I'm sure. We need to stamp, but we don't need the entire truck because we just need the back side. So I'm only inking part of it, and I'm only going to stamp part of it, so having a piece of scrap is fine. I don't need that end of it. And the same with the coloring. Oh, forgot my wheels. Might as well do my wheels now. So with the wheels, I just inked up one of them because I only have one wheel. So we'll stamp our wheel. So there's our wheel stamped. And we're going to go with our red ute. And again, I only want the back part, so there's no reason to ink up the entire truck. Just the back part's fine. And now I need to, because I'm not looking at the window, the back window, I could use that as a guide, or just the edges of the trailer itself. And just come down. Hopefully I got that right. Oh, pretty good. And now we're going to punch that up. So if you are doing something like that on scrap, make sure you have enough so you can hold it. So we're going to hold this down, slide it in, and we just need to look at this back part of the ute that we're going to punch out. So I'm just going to line it up. There we go. And you can tell it's scrap because I've got something stamped on the other side. Okay, now to turn it into a trailer, we don't need the top, but don't cut all the way down because you need the trailer to have a trailer hitch. So you want to have a little bit sticking out from the side. So you're going to come basically where you see the black lines. And I'm just going to come up. I just had a message on my screen. Hopefully it didn't show up on the video. Don't know what it said. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, and I'm just going to, I had that punched out a little off, so I'm just going to fix it up a bit. So I'm going to have this little piece here sticking out. So that's the back of the ute, but I have a piece sticking out there. And then I will just grab a pen, just happen to have my pens here, and just color it in. to make it look like it's a trailer hitch. I don't know what color trailer hitches are. I don't drive trailers. So now that it's colored in, you can then stick it to the back of your ute, and now you have a ute in a trailer. So that's how we're going to get this card. And we're going to pop it up on dimensionals. And I seem to have run out of big dimensionals, so we're just going to do little dimensionals. So we'll just put some on the wheels. And the reason I'm not gluing it together first is because it might end up being a bit lopsided when I put it together. It's more fragile that way. So first, just put the ute over the existing ute. So that's where you can just go from a simple stamped card to making it stand out a bit. Oop. And because I'm putting it over the original one, it still looks like we have the tree in the back of the ute. And then we're just going to stick this one. Don't even need to glue that piece on. We're just going to slide it over a bit so it looks about even. Make sure the wheels are in the right spot. And we've got the trees in the background. And then to bling it up a bit more, I went and did special delivery, and I used a punch. It has a circle, so I did that in white, and this in the same Poppy Parade. And again, a few dimensionals on that. That will make it step up a bit. And I can just cover up the words I had there with the word special delivery, and you still have the clouds peeking out around. Try to make that a bit more. There you go. So we went from a simple card, simply stamped card, and there's a couple ways you can step it up. So there you go, just your normal one. That could be a birthday card, and here we've got a Christmas one. And then on the inside I put that. And just want to show you one more. So similar idea. This time I did it as the portrait. Did trees in the background. Same idea with the ute. This is actually Balmy blue ink, and it makes a really nice color ute. And then I stamped the words Farm Fresh there. In the back I did the flowers, and then I did those other pots that I told you about. Cut them out to stick on the back of the vehicle, and then just did a circle. With this, I just used a pen to ink up the words separately, because that stamp, they all come in one length. So just ink up each word separately and then stamp them separately, cleaning between. And I did a bit of clear embossing to make it shine. And then there I did the not daffodils, sunflowers on the inside of that card. So that could be a nice birthday card. But the last thing I want to show you is this is called a truck builder or ute builder punch, because you have different components to build something with. So if you punch them out, as you saw, we can stamp and punch out the ute itself. But if you don't stamp and you just punch them out, you end up with all these elements. So this shiny part was this section, this top section. That's sized to be a window. And then, as I mentioned before, I use that for the sun, but that's for the tires. And then that's the goes over the tires. They're not, I can't think of the word. I'm thinking mud flaps, but they're definitely not mud flaps. But the section that goes over the tires. So I did the tires in the black, and I used some dimensionals to give some height to those, and just put some bling in the middle. So you've got your outline of your ute, and then you could do that, and I could even pop that on there if I wanted. Or if you make multiples of those, there's lots of videos about making cute little boxes out of this. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed that, the simple stamping with a little encouragement to step it up. So you can start out simple, play around, make all kinds of different scenes, and then turn it into something else. And that was using the Trucking Along stamp set, which is on the online exclusives, as well as the punch. But if you're doing the simple stamping, you only need this. However, buying the two together, you can purchase them with a 10% discount. So make sure that you subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future from me, and go to the links below to see other simple stamping ideas from the Global Monthly Video Hop, as well as if you want to purchase anything, I will be listing all the products I showed you here so you can see what they are, the codes, and then go to your demonstrator to order, or go to my website to order. Thanks so much, and I hope you give me a thumbs up. Enjoy your day. Bye.